So, a couple different fundamental things to be worried about with Achilles locks. Okay, I'd say the biggest issues that people have are related to where the placement of their body is on their training partner's leg. Right, one of the biggest mistakes people make is they lock halfway down someone's leg and going to break his shin in half. Now, maybe somebody as strong as him could do it. Maybe like Luis Ponza, I've seen do some things like that. Okay, but for the average person, right, it's more my body size. All right, we're going to have to get the lock located exactly where the joint is. Okay, if I place my fulcrum midway down the leg, that means I anticipate breaking his shin. If I place my fulcrum underneath the ankle, that means I'm focused on breaking the ankle. So that's the first thing. All right, second thing is my shoulder position. Okay, if I can look behind and I can see his toes, it's likely that my shoulder is located about midfoot. Okay, so the lever arm I'm working with is about this long. Okay, imagine trying to armbar somebody by grabbing like mid-bicep. Okay, it would be ridiculous. Nobody would do that. Okay, so we want to make that lever arm as long as possible without losing the toes. Okay, so when I get in this situation, I take my shoulder and I cover my training partner's toes like so. All right. The last thing, and this is probably one of the biggest mistakes with mechanics, is hands just tend to drop down towards the hips. Even with my hands placed underneath the Achilles and the shoulder placed on the toes, I could hump this guy's leg all day and I'm never going to break it, okay? Because the fulcrum is so low, okay? Think about when you armbar, lifting your hips up in the air to finish the armbar. It's the same sort of idea. I'm going to elevate my fulcrum this time. It's actually much easier than an armbar, just by raising my hands and keeping them shelved on my sternum. Right? The lower I allow them to drop, the more difficult it's going to be to break. All right? So I keep my hands shelved up nice and high. The fulcrum is relatively high, and I have to keep it there. I can't start hipping in and letting my hands droop down. So high fulcrum placed on the Achilles tendon, and shoulder placed at the end of the lever. Now, regardless of which position I'm in, he mentioned specifically a Rini Garami. All right? I personally don't feel as though I'm going to get the maximal pressure here personally. All right, because I can't lock down his hip as effectively. He can just discard my heel off of his hip. It's going to be hard to really break somebody from a position like this. But in general, all right, the mechanics are going to be the same from here as they would be for here. The only difference is that I have his hip more controlled by going foot over foot in this position. I also don't prefer to try to do these locks with my back to the mat. When I lean back, I can only go so far. The mat's going to stop me. Instead, I come onto my side. Now my range of motion moving backwards is maximized. So as I go for my break, I can follow all the way over the toes and continue to extend, all right, and get devastating braking force from this position.
From that position,